Vrek, welcome on board. Vrek looked up at the woman greeting her. Startled, she looked away briefly, before she remembered what she'd been thought and snapping a salute. Thank you, she began. I mean, it's an honor to be here, Captain. Softly and more or less involuntarily, she added, Sorry. The captain laughed. At ease, soldier, she said. I run a light merchant ship here, not a battle cruiser. Vrek maintained her salute, unsure what else to do. Still, I should have been more respectful, she said. You're still the captain. And I'm not much for formalities, the captain said. And even if I were, some surprise would be excusable, no? I'm guessing you're expecting someone else to welcome you. Vrek didn't say anything, nor did she move. Hannah laughed again. Oh, come on, put your arm down. And please, call me Hannah. Vrek reluctantly broke her salute. So, big event. First Ionin on a civilian vessel, Hannah said. She squatted down and stuck out her hand. Vrek was, after all, only about 40 centimeters tall. Combined with her four-fingered hands, pointy ears, and large head, it gave her an appearance not dissimilar to that of a goblin. Vrek reluctantly shook Hannah's hand. She was about to let go, but then she looked to the side and saw a large thing with dark fur and sharp teeth, about twice her size. Instinct kicked in, and she scampered up Hannah's arm, hiding on her shoulders. A few moments later, she noticed what she'd done, and began apologizing profusely. It's fine, Hannah said. It's my fault, actually. This is Max. He's a dog. A Doberman, to be more precise. He's here because of me. I have epilepsy. He can detect a seizure before it happens. As if to clarify, Max turned to the side, revealing he was wearing a vest with service written on it in large letters. Oh, okay, Vrek said. She considered climbing down again, but couldn't quite bring herself to do it. So humans aren't the only species on this ship? Oh no, there's a couple of other species on board, Hannah said. I'm sorry, I thought you'd know that. Ionins travel on human vessels so regularly. You did too, right? It says so in your report. Oh, yeah, Vrek said. We do. I did. She paused for a bit, feeling embarrassed. She noticed she was still sitting on her captain's shoulders and quickly climbed down again. We just don't go in the hallway often or see any of the other passengers at all. Hannah gave her a friendly smile. Well, that's about to change. Shall I give you the tour, then? Yes, please, Vrek said. Thank you. Would you like to ride Max? Vrek shot a look at the dog. He had sat down and seemed to be ignoring them, though his nose twitched occasionally. He doesn't mind, Hannah said, and will be faster that way. Consider it a team-building exercise. Max indeed didn't seem to mind having someone on his back. In fact, it felt as if he was deliberately changing his gait to make her more comfortable. She still had to hang on to his vest, though. Can I ask a question? She said. Sure, Hannah said. Ask anything you want. How did this arrangement come about? Between humans and dogs? Hannah asked. Vrek nodded. The details are lost to time, but it's speculated their wolf ancestors were attracted to the garbage early humans dumped next to their dwellings. The relationship developed from there. Suddenly, Max stopped and snarled. Some meters ahead, the hallway intersected another one. A cat had walked into view there. Vrek looked up at Hannah. Another crew member? Hannah laughed. Oh no, Mimi is very much a passenger. She turned to Max. Be nice. The Doberman stopped snarling, though he didn't seem very pleased about it. Did cats also eat garbage before they were domesticated? Vrek asked. Not really, Hannah said. No, I guess you could see it that way. When humans first started growing crops, the new granaries attracted a lot of rodents, like mice and rats. I guess humans at the time considered those garbage. The cats followed their prey. She looked over to Mimi, who had sat down in the middle of the hallway and was licking her coat, seemingly making a point of not noticing them. I say cats aren't really domesticated, though. They just live around us. Max's lips began twitching again. This moment of tension was interrupted when a door opened next to them, and someone stepped out. He was a somewhat short man, with scruffy hair and a relaxed posture that perfectly suited the baggy hoodie he was wearing. Great coincidence, Hannah said. Vrek, this is Ahmed. You'll be working under him. He's the Chief Supplies Administrator. Ahmed looked down at Vrek, a friendly smile on his face. It's fancy talk for bean counter. Welcome on board. He hunched down and held out his hand. Vrek got off of Max and shook it. I'm glad to be here. Two white rats popped out of Ahmed's hood and climbed onto his shoulders. They looked at Vrek with large, curious eyes. Ahmed gestured at them. Oh, and these are... He stopped and grinned up at Hannah, but I guess the captain is doing the introductions. Hannah sighed. Fettuccine and Alfredo. Ahmed beamed and gently scratched the rats' necks. They made a chittering sound that vaguely sounded like laughter. I thought you said rats were pests that lived in your granaries, Vrek asked. Hannah nodded. At first, yeah. They followed us when we began building cities. They live in the sewers and raid our garbage bins along with the raccoons, crows. Vrek looked over at Fettuccine and Alfredo. They were grooming themselves quite thoroughly, seemingly making a point of it. She looked back at Hannah. Hannah shrugged. Today they fill a different niche. Things change. Vrek would have liked to ask more questions. However, Mimi had used the conversation as an opportunity to get closer to them, mostly unnoticed. She lunged for the rats. Luckily, Max smacked her away with a paw, but immediately, the scene broke out into chaos. The rats fled back into Ahmed's hoodie, who stood up at the same time, startled. The shift in his centre of gravity knocked him off balance. He nearly fell over and smacked into the wall. Vrek, on instinct, fled behind Hannah, who merely yelled, "Mimi!" in a surprised tone. Mimi herself skidded some way down the hall before she managed to regain her footing. She dug her claws into the floor and hissed at Max, back held high and hair standing up. Max responded in kind, growling at her with his lips pulled back, exposing his teeth. This standoff held for a while, tension building. Suddenly, a crow landed on Mimi's head. It touched down just briefly before pushing off and flapping its wings again. Mimi's head was knocked into the floor, causing her to bite her tongue and go sprawling, limbs going in all directions. She quickly recovered and jumped up, trying to claw at the crow, but it had already regained ceiling altitude, far beyond her reach. She tried a couple more times regardless, the crow flying circles above her head, before she decided to retreat instead. Ahmed was rubbing his head. I'll get Kay, they'll deal with her. Thanks, Hannah said. She put a comforting hand on his shoulder. You sure you're okay, though? Yeah, he said, mostly just startled. Hannah turned to Vrek. Sorry about this. She's been a problem for a while, but she's never done anything like this before. We'll deal with her. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Vrek said. Can I get back on Max's back, though, just for now? Hannah smiled. Of course. Meanwhile, the crow had slowly glided over to them. It now landed on one of the short beams that stuck out at the side of the hallway at regular intervals. Vrek had noticed them before, but hadn't bothered to ask about their purpose. It now became obvious. Everyone looked up at the crow. It retrieved a folded piece of paper from the small case on its back. It opened it with a quick jerk of its head, revealing that it was in fact an envelope. Important, Captain's eyes only, was written on the side. Hannah took it, looking confused. The crow made a movement with its right wing, which very much looked like a salute. It showed no sign of leaving, though. In fact, it turned its head to better look at Hannah. She turned so Vrek couldn't see and opened the envelope. For a brief moment, confusion went across her face before she turned beet red. The crow gave a single caw, sounding pleased. Hannah pulled up the paper in her hand and turned to the crow. How did you even get that photo? The crow cawed again. She waved a finger at him accusingly. No, you will tell me. The crow hopped off its beam and began flying down the hall. Hannah ran after it. Clemens, you will tell me. I'll tell Ahmed never to buy macadamias again. You hear me? They'll be banned from this ship. Forever. Even the Martian ones. Clemens just kept flying, merrily cawing all the way. It was quite obvious Hannah couldn't keep up with him. She soon stopped and leaned on her knees, panting. Max walked himself and Vrek over to her. Hannah was tearing the envelope and its contents into little pieces. I swear to God, if he wasn't the best navigator this side of the belt, she grumbled. A bigger piece of paper fell out of her hands. She quickly picked it up and was about to shred it, but paused. Getting pretty good at Photoshop too, she said. So, Vrek said, unsure if this was the right moment to ask, do crows also... He was interrupted by two beeps. Everyone turned. A trolley was coming down the hall. Its load consisted of several sacks of flour, a massive bag of fava beans, as well as a whole bunch of cardboard boxes whose contents couldn't be seen. It was being driven by Fettuccine and Alfredo. The two rats sat on opposite sides of the steering wheel, coordinating to move it as needed. It seemed to be working well. Max and Hannah stepped aside to let the trolley pass. Fettuccine and Alfredo waved at them as they passed. Hannah waved back. Vrek looked up at her in disbelief. As the trolley tugged by, it became visible that a raccoon was riding on the back of it, legs dangling over the side, and a clipboard under its arm. Hi, Kay, Hannah said. Kay gave a friendly wave back, though they looked concerned. They pointed at Hannah, and then gestured at their own face. Hannah's blush had faded mostly, but came back a little now. "Oh yeah, I'm fine," Hannah said. "Just Clemence's latest prank. Are you off to go deal with Mimi?" Kay gave her a thumbs up. The trolley turned and disappeared around a corner. Vrek kept staring at the place where it had been for a while longer. Eventually, though, she managed to drag her eyes away and look back up at Hannah. "So, the raccoon is... security?" she asked. Hannah laughed. "Oh no, Kay's the passenger liaison. Mimi is getting a lifetime ban. Probably be confined to her quarters until we reach Ganymede, or hand her over to the authorities." "Why do you say probably?" Vrek asked. "Isn't that your decision?" "I'm the captain, not a dictator. This is Kay's expertise. I trust I'll know best what to do." "Oh, okay." Vrek looked back at the hallway corridor. She hesitated, unsure what to do. "So," she finally began, "is turning garbage scavengers into co-worker species a thing with humans?" Hannah looked a bit startled. "You know, I hadn't really considered it." She looked at Max, then down the hallway, where the trolley had been. She seemed to be avoiding looking at Vrek. "I guess it has happened a few times." "But it's not the only way you interact with other species, right?" Vrek asked. Hannah rubbed the back of her neck. "I mean, I guess there's the livestock, though they're not really co-workers, mostly at least." She still hadn't looked at Vrek. "I guess my species is a first then, right?" Vrek said. Hannah's cheeks turned red again. "What?" "Nothing," Hannah said, obviously lying. "What?" Vrek repeated. Hannah sighed. "You know how we first encountered your species as passengers on our ships?" "Yeah," Vrek said with some trepidation. "On the lower decks, that thing you guys call the food chute?" "No," Vrek said. "Yeah,"